So good afternoon and welcome to the continuation of Pittsburgh City Council 2023 budget hearings. Today we actually have the line item vote before us. I believe we're waiting on one final amendment to come out to the table.
Oh, wait, you have new seating arrangements. Wait. It is, I don't have my phone.
Well, for today, anyway, she might want to change it, you know.
Okay, thanks.
Our rules of council.
Okay.
So,
What's it supposed to be?
according to the rules of council, this is the seating arrangement.
Here. Cross supposed to be there?
Oh. Bruce and Red back together again.
Rosenberg's in a tree, right?
Is that what they said? Yeah.
Yes. And you were, where were you at? Where's your first? Here.
I was on the very end,
I don't know where to sit.
next to Patrick.
I was down there next to Patrick too. You were on one side of me and Patrick was on the other.
Yeah.
Patrick used to sit like this.
Yeah,
He
and I
was sitting
said,
very edge of the seat.
one day he was talking, I said, sit out, Geronimo.
He was sitting on the, he was sitting at the very edge.
What's the matter?
You feel the very edge of the seat.
So,
Sent it to me.
so now that we've been properly organized by Madam President and Councilman Wilson,
Councilman Wilson.
With the adults there.
so in front of members is both an amendment summary as well as the actual technical amendment in front of you as well. Yes.
I don't have anything in front of me.
Here, take my,
Yeah, go ahead, Daniel.
I don't need it till 5.
Oh, I thought you were trying to tell me something. I'm sorry. So we have the amendment summary,
we
and
need
then
one
you
more
have the technical amendments as well.
Is Rhea coming up? Okay, good.
And are you ready, Director? Oh,
Yeah,
sorry. We need to get
Reverend
one more.
gave me his
We need to
copy.
get one more copy. Okay.
What is the amendment we're waiting for?
It's for Bobby's legislation today.
Okay.
Is it TJ Maxx calling?
Burlington Co-Factory is on the line. Yeah, good deal.
Why is it a dead project? I have people in Knoxville.
Good. Huh? Yes, we have been. I was waiting for the last set of amendments to arrive for Councilman Burgess. Now that everyone has their packets of amendments, we're going to turn it over to Director McDivitt, our Budget Director, to walk us through each amendment, and then we'll vote on each one at a time. And we're going to begin with personnel-related amendments.
Thanks. So first, what I have is the amendments sent over from the administration. So we'll go over their operating amendments and their capital amendments. and then we'll go through council's proposed amendments. So the first amendment for the operating budget from the administration is to add one press officer to the mayor's budget for a $56,652 in 2023 with a 5-year impact of $294,821.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. I'm sorry, Councilman.
No, just curious. Is this sort of, I don't know how to ask, sort of compensation for not putting Cable Bureau into the mayor's offices to assist with
Yes.
press communications? Okay, I can support that, thank you.
Okay. All, Capital Amendment 1 has passed. Amendment number 2?
Second amendment, operating. amendment.
Operating, sorry.
Transferring one position from planning to the mayor's office and changing the title. There is no dollar amount change for this.
Second.
Second?
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Amendment 3?
Amendment 3 is upgrading a budget analyst position to a senior budget analyst position, which is a $13,674 increase in 2023 and a $71,158 increase over 5 years.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Operating amendment number 4?
Number 4 is a salary correction in finance and the three taxing body.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Operating amendment 5?
Operating Amendment 5 is a title change in the law department, and there is no dollar amount change for this.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Operating amendment 6?
Operating Amendment number 6 is removing 3 school guards and adding 1 film permit coordinator, which is a decrease of $14,589 in 2023 and a decrease of $86,192 over 5 years.
Motion to approve.
Second discussion.
Discussion? Councilman Kraus?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just thought we were making a stronger commitment to crossing guards and supplying crossing guards.
Elsewhere in the budget, they do make a stronger commitment for crossing guards.
Are these crossing guards?
I'm not sure what,
It's a school guard. Is that,
we're using interchangeable language, sorry. Yes,
yes, it is a crossing guard? I mean, these are crossing guards, or are these like?
School crossing guards.
Security guards in the, these are school crossing guards, not just like security officers?
No.
I have the
Just
floor.
checking.
I have the
sorry,
floor.
Councilman
That's
Kraus.
okay, yeah. Could we get clarification? Before we commit to removing crossing guards, I'm just curious. I'm not looking to be obstructive.
before final vote?
Yeah, I
Yes.
just would like to know, because I do know the administration has worked diligently to increase commitment to providing for crossing guards. Thank you, appreciate it.
Crossing guards.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Councilwoman Warwick?
Well, so, yeah, I mean, I know that at least in my district, there's been lots of requests for crossing guards at Minadeo, up in Hazelwood, at Colfax. So, I don't know. Are these crossing guard positions being put back in somewhere else?
If you would like, we can ask the clerk's office to see if someone from the administration can come to the table to further explain.
Well,
I was next.
Councilwoman Warwick still has the floor.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm done.
Councilwoman Strasburger?
Well, my line of questioning is the same. I'd like to know what the actual implications are to the number of crossing guards total. If anyone can answer that question before I take a vote.
He's right here.
Oh,
Patrick, can you answer
do
that?
you want to come to the table? Okay.
Hi, Patrick, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Patrick Cornell, Deputy Director, Office of Management and Budget.
You shaved and you totally threw me off, so I apologize. I didn't recognize you sitting there.
None of us did.
Much younger. Director?
Sure. So this amendment came at the request of Director Schmidt. It would drop the total number of school crossing guards from 78 to 75, which we believe is the number right now that we can sustain with our existing crossing postings. And there are further implications, we can go into it offline, about where a crossing guard can and cannot be placed due to state law. You know, they have to be related to schools. They have to be, crossing children. So there are a lot of different stipulations as to where the guards can and cannot be.
I have it next.
Strasburger, you still have the floor.
Do you happen to know offhand the number of guards? Because it's a matter of total number of positions, but it's also a matter of filling those positions. And it's my understanding that even if we had 78 positions available, only about 60 of them are filled currently.
That is an accurate statement that it is difficult to recruit. I can look it up right now if you wait just one second. There's 62 as of the first pay period in December.
62 guards out of currently
Current budget 81.
current budget 81. This would decrease it to 75 total positions that we'd still be seeking to fill. Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you. President Smith?
Thank you. I heard your comment about the state laws saying where a crossing guard cannot go. But in terms of DPW and now DOMI, stop signs have a place where they can and cannot go to. However, a director has the ability, if it's a public safety issue, to override those state laws. And so I'm wondering if it's similar with a crossing guard. And I also noticed that there are not crossing guards where there were places where crossing guards were originally. So I do think that there still is room for crossing guards, and it is a priority of not only us, but of our residents. So I think that, maybe take that back, and we could try to work through whatever the concerns are. But I'm not going to vote for this today. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman?
So my question is, I guess, so we're budgeted for 81. How many do we have data as to how many we feel we need as a city of Pittsburgh? Is that why we're lessening that, or?
The Department of Public Safety has that information. We can get that back to you.
Got it. Do you know how many we had last year?
The numbers have been slowly decreasing, and I know in the last go-around with collective bargaining, we did increase rates in an attempt to recruit. With the driver's license changes, the administration is certainly trying to recruit more. We're still trying to get.
When you say driver's license change, you mean you no longer need a driver's license to be a crossing guard? Okay. So we're at 61, but we're going to try to get to 75. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Second round, Councilman Kraus.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Patrick, thanks for being here.
Turn your mic on, Councilman.
Oh, I'm sorry. Forgive me. Patrick, thanks for being here, and thank you, Mr. Chair. For this moment in time, at the direction of Public Safety Director Schmidt, I'll take his recommendation on this, and I'll vote the amendment today, but I would like to have a deeper discussion by the time we final vote on it. Okay? Thank you very much.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed?
No.
3 in opposition, affirmative recommendation. That takes us to operating amendment number 7.
Operating amendment number 7 is a title.
Can you stay just in case there are other questions?
Yeah, I think you're going to be here a while.
Number 7 is a title change in Public Works Admin with no salary change.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Operating amendment number 8.
Operating amendment number 8 is adding 2 foremen second in command for a total of $152,189 in 2023, with an overall increase over 5 years of $804,990.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Operating amendment number 9.
Operating amendment number 9 is removing one program supervisor in DPW Environmental Services, which will be a decrease of $88,228 in 2023 and $463,444 over the next 5 years.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Operating amendment number 10.
Operating amendment number 10 is adding 2 project managers in DPW facilities for a total of $197,645 in 2023, with a $1,037,310 increase over the next 5 years.
Motion to approve.
Discussion?
Just briefly, Peter, can you help me to understand part of the action that we're taking here in readjusting these different salary line items and positions is in keeping with council's desire to ensure COLA increases remain consistent with what they've been in the past?
It's back here.
So right now, we're working on the administration's amendments. So this is a proposed one from the mayor's office
Yes.
to put those back into, or put these positions into DPW.
Yeah, I guess maybe I'm ahead of myself. I'll wait till we get to it. I'm trying to understand if the actions that we're taking are part of that. They are not. Okay.
Any further discussion? Seeing none.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Operating amendment number 11.
Number 11 is increasing the rate of a position in the Shade Tree Trust Fund by $12,854 in 2023, with a $554,010 increase over the next 5 years.
Second?
Second with discussion. I'm sorry. I'm
Discussion.
not trying to belabor this, but the rate increase is not going to be 12,854 every year, correct? It has to go up from that if it's going to be 554,000 over 5 years.
Yes, it goes up every year.
But how does it add up to 554 in 5 years? At 12 a year?
That's
give
with
or
the
take?
salary, I
It's
think.
zero. I think it's too many zeros.
I don't understand how it comes to
Which
that.
one are you looking
That
at?
might
I
be a
think he's looking
misprint.
at the
Sorry,
wrong one.
that's just a misprint. That's actually, so it's actually an increase of $66,987
Thank
over
you.
5 years.
That
That's a
makes
good
better
catch.
sense. Thanks, Peter.
You'll
Appreciate
see
it.
that $500,000 figure again soon, though.
I know. What is the rate? What is the salary of that person?
The salary in 2023 is going from $49,836 to $61,590.
Okay, thanks.
Happy to support.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Operating amendment number 12.
Number 12 is adding 2 positions to the Stop the Violence Trust Fund for a total of $81,118 in 2023, with a 5-year increase of $554,010.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Operating amendment number 13.
Number 13 is updating the PJCBC healthcare rates in the general fund, which comes to a savings of $216,948, with a $1,222,954 decrease over 5 years.
Approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Operating amendment number 14.
Operating amendment number 14 is updating the PJCBC healthcare and trust funds, which brings a savings of $38,331 in 2023 and a savings of $216,077 over the next 5 years.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. That takes us now to the administration's operating amendments that are non-personnel.
So non-personnel changes, the first one you have in front of you is shifting the Love Your Block funding from Public Works to the mayor's office.
Motion to approve, brief discussion, please.
Second.
Just curious about the management and implementation of the Love Your Block. Lots of people clearly love the funding and they do use it. Reasoning behind moving it into the mayor's office, anybody? I'm just curious. Oh, I'm sorry, Peter. Forgive me, I'm sorry. You shaved, I didn't recognize.
So in the past few years, the position handling Love Your Blocks had moved from planning to Public Works. In this proposal, we will be shifting the administration of Love Your Block to neighborhood services within the mayor's office.
see.
So this just moves that corresponding line item.
I like the terminology of neighborhood services. It kind of, it grounds the distribution of that funding, so I'm happy to support, thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Operating amendment number 2.
Number 2 for non-personnel is increasing tuition reimbursement in the mayor's office from $5,000 to $15,000 in 2023 only.
Motion to approve, brief discussion, please. Second. Thank you. Again, it's one of the most attractive reasons people choose employment in the city is to finish their education. It's happened in my office any number of times with staff that have come in and finished their education. So this is not strictly limited to being housed within the mayor's office. It's citywide to people that wish to finish education while they're having their employment in Pittsburgh?
So each department does have their own tuition reimbursement line. This is similar to the prior one. As people have moved with neighborhood services into the mayor's office in the proposal, this could cover their costs as if they would like to move that.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Helps. Thank you.
Councilman Wilson?
Is that different than other departments?
No. The HR policy, says that per director approval and availability of funding. So this is just allowing those funds to be available if someone does want to go back to school.
Yeah, I thought you said that each department has their own.
Correct.
set.
This is particular for the mayor's office.
Yeah,
So
so like-
OMB has its own tuition reimbursement. Public Works would have its own tuition reimbursement. Each department has its own allocation of funding.
Yeah, so is the amount the same across the board, or is it different?
No. A lot of times it depends on what is known as to which employees have already started programming and are in process of doing that. They come through as budget requests during the summertime, typically.
Yeah, just quickly. So the 5 to 15,000 is the amount you can be reimbursed. Is that what I understand to be?
So this would be a pool of funds, and as individuals are approved for their programming, it would start to draw down from that. So it's
It's not a lot of money to give back.
that is correct. At this point, there are not. The mayor's office does not have a lot of known individuals who are participating in the program.
This is something for next year, but it's one of the things I like most about people that seek employment with the city and furthering themselves and bettering their education. So we can talk about this in the new year. Happy to. Thank you.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Non-personnel operating amendment number 3.
Amendment number 3 is in ONB. It's increasing SWPA commission membership dues by $7,000 per year and adding $52,000 for 200 Ross property maintenance in 2023.
Second.
Aye.
Non-personnel operating amendment number 4.
Number 4 is in finance. It's decreasing OPEB contribution by $100,000 in 2023 and $500,000 over, hang on, let me double check just to make sure I give you the right information. And $500,000 in 2024. It says 2023 on there, but 2024.
Motion approved.
And also, I have a second part to that. Increasing debt service due to Oliver Bathhouse, adding Oliver Bathhouse to the bond issuance for a total of $1,080,500 over 5 years.
Motion approved. Second discussion, please.
Discussion, Councilman Cross?
Thank you. I just want to recognize the new administration's continuing commitment to the Oliver Bathhouse and the importance that it is really to all of Southwest Pittsburgh and the amazing history it has. I appreciate everything the Peduto administration did to contribute to the restoration and salvation of this building, which is in sore need of repair. And I especially want to thank and show my appreciation to the Gainey administration for continuing the work on the Oliver Bathhouse. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Non-personnel operating amendment number 5.
Number 5 is increasing security guard line in public safety for a total of $605,575 over 5 years.
Motion to approve. Second.
Discussion?
Brief.
Councilman Kraus?
Yeah. Is it our security in the building here?
Yes, it's tied to St. Moritz,
Right.
correct?
Yeah. Right.
That's correct. It's tied to St. Moritz, and this is also related to the Resolution 703 that was passed just a few weeks ago.
Okay, thank you so much. Happy to support.
So is the money, are we increasing positions or are we increasing salaries of the people who are already in position?
Salaries, I believe that the union that represents the guards had a new contract.
Okay, great, thank you.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Non-personnel operating amendment number 6.
Number 6 is decreasing community public safety facilities by $1.5 million over 5 years.
Motion to approve. Second discussion.
Discussion, Councilman Kraus?
Thank you. Could you help walk us through that, please?
Sure. So this is a budget line that was added in with the amended 2021 budget. Given that it was originally American Rescue Plan funded, that funding does have to stop at the end of 2024. At that time, Public Works will be able to absorb the rest. So this is just correcting that.
Okay, that makes me feel a whole lot better. So you're saying that if the ARPA, the rescue monies had not been used, they'll be redistributed through Public Works. They will ultimately be used. They just can't be used for public safety facilities.
That is correct.
And what's the definition of public safety facilities? It's broad terminology.
Correct. So one of the guidelines that Treasury had articulated is being able to spend these funds on things that would promote public safety within communities. When that plan originally moved in 2021, some of that was related to moving some of the police operations to Woodruff Street. Some of that was related to work being done in the South Side.
Yeah.
And I believe at the time, some of it was work being done in Homewood. I would need to check with Director Hornstein to see where those have moved.
Thank you. Were some of these funds originally dedicated to the old Zone 3 at 18th and Mary?
I believe so.
Yeah. And so is there, we probably should take this offline. It's probably a bigger discussion. But are you comfortable in saying that as the funding shifts into the Department of Public Works, that there will be a continuation to the commitment of the renovation of that project?
That I do not know the
can't.
answer to, but I will look into it.
Yeah, I'll be happy to do that. You have enough to do. I'll continue. I'm not speaking out of turn. I've had my concerns about a possible lack of or a shift in commitment to completing that project, which I've been advocating for about 12 years now. So, and we got very close to getting that 2/3 of the way done, and then it kind of stopped. But thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Lastly, in non-personnel operating budget number 7.
Number 7 is decreasing the one-time transfer to the senior trust fund due to using CDBG funds instead. It's related to capital amendment number 4.
Motion approved.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilwoman Warwick?
Could I have just clarification about what the senior trust fund is? Sorry.
Sure. So the senior trust fund is
You turned your mic off.
the senior trust fund is how our healthy active living centers. There's a lot of that staff is paid and programming is paid for that. Money comes in from the county and from our community development block grants. And this was we need to take a better look next year at the funding for that particular special revenue account. So we had anticipated a one-time transfer to make sure there was enough funding, but we're able to reduce that because of the CDBG funding.
Got it, thank you.
Got it there. I just want to clarify, so it is still increasing by 200,000, 225,000 or so? Over 5 years?
Just for 2023.
Just for 2023. Great, great. So I'm actually grateful for that. We know that there's a lot of things that Parks and Recs is doing. We know there's a lot of things that the Healthy Active Living Centers are doing. And certainly, we heard a lot about that in the budget hearing from Parks and Rec, and I'm supportive of, we're still increasing the funding just for this next year, and then we can reevaluate. All right, I appreciate it. I just wanted to clarify.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. We will now move on to the administration's amendments to the capital budget. So capital budget amendment number 1.
Capital amendment number 1, and this was actually discussed whenever the URA came to the table for their budget hearing. It is associating direct URA personnel costs to the appropriate projects for CDBG funding. There's no actual dollar change.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Capital amendment number 2.
Capital amendment number 2 is accepting a grant award for a collaborative flood control project with PWSA, a total of $61,000 in 2023.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Capital amendment number 3.
Capital amendment number 3, this was briefly discussed earlier, but is adding $3.1 million in bond funding in 2023 for the Oliver Bathhouse.
Motion to approve. Brief
Second.
discussion, please.
Second.
Thank you. I just want to reiterate my comments as to the importance of this building. I want to thank my colleagues over the years who have unanimously supported this project time and time and time again, which I left out the first time, and I didn't mean to do that. And again, the continuing commitment to the administration and understanding, the Gainey administration, and understanding the importance of Oliver Bathhouse and the history that it has, and the significance to all of Southwest Pittsburgh. So thank you very much for this. Appreciate it.
I just want to acknowledge your work in this and your commitment. I think because you believed in it so much, you made everyone else believe in it. So people have a.
Do you want to? I'm sorry. Do you want to tell that story where
There was once a young, bright-eyed asset management analyst who sat at this table and talked to council about selling that building, and he was yelled at a lot.
What was his name?
His name was Peter McDevitt.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. Yeah. Well, we've come a long way. I appreciate it.
Thankfully, now we're fully investing in it to make it back to the standard that it should have been for a long time.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Again, thanks to the administration.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Capital amendment number 4.
Capital amendment number 4 is shifting CDBG funding from the mayor's public service grants to Healthy Active Living Center personnel and programs.
Approve.
Second.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Capital amendment number 5.
Number 5 is adding funding for Fowler Pool and Cross Strauss Parklet projects for a total of $235,000 in the Parks Tax Funds in 2023.
Motion to
Second.
motion to approve. Brief discussion, please.
Second. Second.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Councilman, is this yours? Is this you? This is you?
Yeah, but we essentially, it's an asset for all of the north side, so for all intents and purposes, we share it.
Happy to support.
Councilwoman Gross?
Thank you, I appreciate it. I have to admit, on this this page of the administrative capital budget amendments, the font is incredibly tiny.
Yes.
If you would indulge me, I don't see the reduction line. Is that just because it's out of the trust fund, or how is that working on that one?
It is a transfer of additional dollars from the trust fund to capital projects.
Okay, so it's not a change within the capital budget, it's coming from a trust fund, so it's like adding, it's making the capital budget that much larger. Got it,
It's
got it.
100 for the pool, 135 for the parklet.
We know that, I just wanted to take a moment to talk about pools, since so many council members have talked about and worked on reopening more pools. We were grateful the administration was able to open, I think, 3 more pools this year, but we're still really not up to our pre-COVID number of pools, which was still down dramatically over the last 10, 15 years. I think we, as council members, we can continue to do capital budget amendments, and we know that we have other pools that need to be fixed, right? And so it's both the capital budget type repairs to pools and the investment in Parks and Rec and lifeguards that go together to actually get pools open and keep them open. So I'm supportive of this today, but we have more pools to talk about, like West Penn and Polish Hill. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not, I'll wait till later.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. And then capital amendment number 6.
Capital Amendment number 6 is shifting funding from the Bedford Choice Project and adding $300,000 in PAYGO in 2023 and $100,000 in 2024.
Motion to approve. Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Thank you. We will now move on to City Council's operating amendments. First amendment is number 1.
Amendment number 1 is increasing non-union salaries by 1% in 2023 and 2% in 2024, 2025, and 2026, which will create an additional cost of $462,681 in 2023 and a $10,933,702 increase over the next 5 years. It's being offset by decreasing OPEB contributions by $900,000 in 2023 and $2,500,000 in outer years, and by removing the following positions: a 311 call representative, talent acquisition coordinator, financial analyst, engagement specialist, a 1-call technician, an executive assistant, and 2 laborers and 2 truck drivers.
To approve with discussion, please.
Second.
Discussion.
Thank
With
you.
discussion, Councilman Cross.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This one was especially important to all members of council in ensuring that cost of living increases remained consistent with employees that have clearly dedicated decades of their lives to service in the city. My question for you, Peter, is this: the non-union salary by 1% in 2023 is the 1% in addition to what was originally recommended, correct?
That is correct. It's going from 2% to 3%.
Okay, and I just want to make sure that we make that public. So then in 2024, it goes up 2%.
From 0 to
From
2%,
0.
yeah.
So it will be 2% total in 2024. 2025 and 2026 will also be 2%?
Yes.
Right?
Both of those years will go from 0 to 2%.
Okay, so employees that are listening and watching in here, they know how to plan their finances accordingly for the year. 23, there will be a cost of living increase of 3% for non-union employees. 24 will be 2, 25, 26 will also be 2% for all non-union employees. Appreciate it. This was really important. Peter, you and Rhea and members really appreciate your support on this one. This was one of the more important ones just for council to see corrected, so.
Yeah, and I can't thank and give enough credit to the Deputy Director, Rhea Price, who has really done a lot of work on this. And also with the administration, we didn't just choose these positions. These were not something that council just picked out of thin air in the budget. We worked with the administration to see where we're very excited for all the positions that they wanted to add, so where we could, it was most tolerable to take these positions from. And also just to note that we made those percentage changes so that we can follow the AFSCME 2719 union, which is what the city generally follows for non-union employees. So now it's lined up with what they have projected.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, and I just wanted to make it clear too that it was in the budget that the non-union employees received 0 increases. And so City Council wanted to make sure that they did receive their increases. I wish we could do more for all of our employees. We all do. But I think we're doing the best we can with what we have. And I really do want to thank the administration because they have been really good to work through on this budget. I mean, there was a lot of times, when I first saw the budget, I almost had a heart attack. And then after working through some of it, they have been really good at, cutting out positions where need be and understanding that, we weren't moving the cable bureau and those kinds of things. So I think working with them has been good, but I'm happy that we were able to at least come to some agreement on making sure that we're valuing our employees. I mean, we're getting ready to put millions of dollars out for different social services. If we would pay people right in the first place, we wouldn't, maybe we wouldn't have to do that. And hopefully other people will do the same thing when they're private businesses. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Gross.
Thank you. I also want to say thank you for the council leadership and members of council who, work together with the administration and our budget office. But I want to make sure that the public understands that there's nobody losing their job in order to do this, that these were just brand-new positions that were reduced from 140 to maybe
100, 130,
120.
and 140, yeah.
Right, so it was proposed new positions that were reduced slightly by 10%,
They were
that have
130.
allowed us to make the
100.
3% cost of living increase for the non-union employees. So union employees were already getting the 3% increase
Right.
generally, including
Depending on
AFSCME,
their,
depending on the different
on the-
unions.
yeah,
But it was the
collective
700 or so non-represented employees who were getting less than everyone else as an increase, and now we're kind of bringing up to 3%, but also acknowledging, just for the record, that inflation is still around 7 or 8%.
Yep.
Food inflation, food costs are above that. And so which is more of a burden on our lower income households across the city, which are up at about 11%. And so we wish we could do more, but it was significant work in negotiating to even get us up to the 3%. So again, just acknowledging everyone's work, and I'm happy to vote for it.
Thank you.
I just want to add, it's not necessarily that I want to do more with social services. I want the county to do more for the Pittsburgh area. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, I just also want to thank the administration, but in particular, thank our budget office for their work on crunching these numbers well into last night. So thank you all.
Into this morning. He just
Into
did
this
it.
morning. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Operating amendment number 2.
Number 2, since there are non-union civilian employees in the police bureau, because we increased from 2% to 3%, we will be increasing the transfer to the Stop the Violence Trust Fund for an additional $75,000 over 5 years. It's $2,312 in 2023 and $72,153 in the outer years.
Motion approved. Yep, second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Operating amendment number 3.
Number 3, it includes salary increases for employees in the city clerk division, records management division, city council solicitor, and community health and policy manager positions for a total increase of $26,264 in 2023 and $105,018 in the outer years.
Motion to approve, brief discussion, please. Thanks, Mr. Chair, appreciate it. Peter, define the out years, that is.
Over the next
are we-
5 years.
The next 5, so 23, 4, 5, 6.
4, 5, 6,
7.
Yeah.
Okay. And the total being 105,000 over all of those years, or each of those years?
Over all of those years.
Over all of those years. So I think it's an appropriate time to give honor and respect to our clerk's office and the people that work on this floor, and the very difficult jobs that we ask them to do, which is managing 9 stray cats on a good day, and they do it with professionalism and grace, and it's just important that we take time to say thank you for what it is that you do and how important it is that you be here and that you serve us. So to all the staff that's on the council side of the 5th floor, I'm happy to support these minor increases in wage and salary, and to tell you how much we appreciate what you do.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, I will echo Councilman Kraus's sentiments. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Operating amendment number 4.
Operating amendment number 4, these include some budget cleanups for council as a body, budget accounts that hasn't been done in some times. It's more closely reflective of the J.D. Edwards accounting. There's no actual cost changes. We're just lining up those dollars with the more appropriate buckets that they should be coming out of.
Motion approved.
Second.
Discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm going to say no on this one.
One in opposition. Affirmative recommendation.
We'll speak later. I'll just have a better understanding. I don't have the, we'll take it offline. Okay.
Operating amendment number 5.
Number 5 is a title change for a position in DOMI, an increase of $11,815 in 2023, and an overall increase of $53,618 in the outer years.
Yes, second, brief discussion, please. Peter, can you help me understand why we would be doing a title change in the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure under council operating amendments?
This was a request in particular for DOMI employees who have to regularly work with council, and to really bring them to in line with other employees that work in DOMI and TPW, to change their title from an operations manager to a superintendent.
Okay, thank you.
Grossberger?
I'm just trying to understand this further. Does this then translate into a promotion of an existing position, or is this a brand-new position that does not currently exist?
It changes the operations manager, so it takes that out of the budget and creates a new position for a superintendent.
And forgive me, is either of those, is the operations manager position currently?
It is filled
Filled.
currently, yes.
Okay, so this is a promotion.
It's budgeted in there. It's up to, the city council is able to legislate the budget increase, but it would be up to the administration to actually make that promotion.
Okay, so yes, in effect, it could be considered a, presumed to potentially be a promotion of an existing position. Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Operating amendment number 6.
Operating amendment number 6 is adding an administrative assistant to the CPRB. It's an increase of $64,032 in 2023 and an overall increase of $282,631 in the outer years.
Motion to approve, brief discussion, please.
Second.
Yes, second discussion.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to recognize Council President Kel Smith, and we had brief conversation about this, and I'm sure you had everything to do with getting this on here. I just want to say thank you for doing that. CPRB, no?
You did, yeah.
I thought you, well,
Presented by you.
it was? Okay, then I did it. So there.
was.
But you and I talked that
Right.
one night, and the work that CPRB does is incredibly valuable to the entire public safety department of the city of Pittsburgh, if you will. And Beth, she's just one of the hardest working people I think I've met in the history of the years that I've been here. And I think Beth said at her hearing, did she say 35 years or 28 years or?
23, it's been 25
Yeah,
that she's been there.
that she's been, yeah, that's it, yeah.
It's like dog years once you're here.
Yeah, I mean, time just flies. But yeah, but I just greatly appreciate that members are willing to support this and give Beth the work that she needs. And I'm still going to say I think this was Council President Smith that got this honor, so thank you.
No, it wasn't.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Coghill?
I thought at the budget hearing that Ms. Pittenger said that it was a $30,000 increase. Did that change, or was it always that ask?
I'm not sure that she gave a dollar amount at that hearing, but she did express a desire for.
Oh, I
an
remember that. I
administrative
told her I would
assistant,
support
yeah.
it too,
Yeah.
but I remember 30,000. Maybe I was wrong. I don't know.
I don't
Anybody
recall
else
an
remember
actual dollar
30,000 as an increase? Okay, well, I'm going to support it, so I'm just curious. I thought I remember it being substantially less, but we don't have record of that. There was nothing on record with that.
I mean, we could go back and watch the video of it.
Okay, I'm fine with it.
Further discussion?
Can I just say, this is not specific to this bill, but just generally, because I'm new, and I don't know, maybe for the public too, as they're listening to this or perhaps looking at these documents, it might be helpful to have either a legend at the bottom or somewhere where you're using acronyms where they're actually defined, like before, to spell it out and then put the acronyms in parentheses afterwards at first mention, and then afterwards you can use it.
That's an excellent note. A lot of us forget how many acronyms we use.
I'm just sitting here
now.
furiously
Yes.
Googling what all these
Citizens Police
acronyms are.
Review Board.
So.
Yes, thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank
That's
you.
An excellent note.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Operating amendment number 7.
Number 7, we'll be moving the print shop, cable bureau, and web positions from the mayor's office back to the Department of Innovation and Performance. There is no change in the budget to that.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Madam President.
I just want to be added as a sponsor to this. I thought it was coming from me, too. Thank
Any
you.
further discussion?
Yeah, if I
Councilman
could,
Kraus?
please. Yeah, I especially want to recognize council leadership and thank council leadership for their due diligence on this. I don't believe there was a member that found any level of support in doing this. And it just shows what we do when we work together collectively and cooperatively between ourselves and with administrators, and we're able to achieve the things that we think are in the best interest of everyone. So this was a pretty big jump, but leadership took it and handled it, and we got it done, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing
I'll send my
none,
comments
all
prior.
those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Operating amendment number 8.
Operating amendment number 8, I'm actually going to give you a different number that's in front of you, but there will be an additional $950,000 transfer in the 2023 capital budget. For it's $800,000 to the capital budget for Allegheny Commons North for the Pittsburgh Parks Conservancy, and there will be an additional $150,000 for the capital budget for the Westwood School Field concession stands. So it's a total of $950,000 increase into the Parks Tax Reconstruction capital line.
Motion to approve.
Yeah, second.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilwoman Strasburger?
Well, I want to note that in the larger packet, that's listed as amendment
Number
number
nine,
9.
yeah.
So I want anyone who might be
I
following
have a different packet than you.
that there is an $800,000
Yes, number 9 in this one.
to Brownsville Road for number 8, but for number 9, there's a $950,000,
I don't have Brownsville.
which
Road.
does not align with the one
No,
pager. So that's
sorry.
just where there might be some confusion.
Yes. So amendment number 8 on your list is to transfer funding to the Parks Tax Trust Fund. And amendment number 8 in your list of amendments on the different pages is to transfer additional PAYGO for the Brownsville Road study. Sorry, I don't have, those don't line up. I apologize.
So, if members, you're going to need to refer to the actual amendments themselves, because this sheet is a little off. We apologize. But operating amendment number 8 is transferring PAYGO dollars to a Brownsville Road study. It is presented by Councilman Coghill in the amount of $51,211.
Where,
Third to the last page, Councilman Kraus.
So we're going back to number 8?
Yes, this is still number 8.
So number 8, I apologize. I gave you our list and packet do not match up. In the packet, number 8 is transferring an additional $51,211 to capital PAYGO for the Brownsville Road study.
It's already been moved in second.
and just brief discussion, please.
Has it been moved in second?
Yes, it was.
Okay, good.
Move from.
It's just additional PAYGO dollars out of the general
I'm
fund.
happy to support. Thank you.
It does.
51.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. That will take us to operating amendment number 9, which is the park tax.
Operating amendment number 9 is adding $950,000, transferring it from Parks tax money to the capital budget.
Motion to approve?
Second, discussion.
Discussion, Councilman
Thank
Gross?
you. I just want to, again, add that this is a transfer into the capital budget from a trust, the same trust fund, so the Parks Tax Trust Fund. So the First Amendment for the pool in Councilman Lavelle and Councilman Wilson's kind of close together district was 100,000?
It was 250,000. That was mayor's office amendments, so that's why these were separated out.
That's okay. So that's 250,000, and then this is an additional 950,000. Correct? And so that
Correct.
makes a 1.2 million, 1.2 million from Parks. So we've made the capital budget larger so far by 1.2 million by taking it out of Parks Trust Fund, which we talked about over the course of a full year about how to allocate these dollars and decided that it should be done as line items in front of council. So I just wanted to point out that this is kind of what we intended to do from the beginning when we were putting amendments on the table about how to allocate and structure the trust fund. And for these reasons, so that we could be responsive to community needs. With this is additional dollars invested into parks that wouldn't have been there otherwise.
Correct.
That's right, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
What is the sponsor of this amendment as well, too?
Madam Clerk, Councilman Kraus would like to be noted as a sponsor.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. We will now move us on to City Council's capital budget amendments, of which there are 4, I believe. Capital Amendment number 1.
Capital Amendment number 1 is to reallocate $402,023 within the streets resurfacing budget by reducing the asphalt paving program deliverable and creating 2 new deliverables for Langcourt concrete upgrades, Langcourt concrete street upgrades for $214,888 and Linden Lane concrete street upgrades for $187,135.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Capital Amendment number 2.
Capital Amendment number 2 relates to the operating amendment number 8. It's adding $51,211 of PAYGO funding to complete streets for the Brownsville Road study.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Capital Amendment number 3.
Capital Amendment number 3 will be reallocating $500,000 within park reconstruction parks tax by reducing Allegheny Commons court upgrades and creating 3 new deliverables for Allegheny Commons East Plan for $150,000, Michael Flynn Memorial Field and Trail Connection for $200,000, and Marmaduke Deck Hockey Electric Scoreboard and Dasher System for $150,000.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilman Wilson?
This is moving a project that's actually just part of the project, the Allegheny Commons court upgrades. The light system in there is the most important part of the project. And then the Allegheny Commons East Plan, so that's been reduced. And then the remaining funds go to these other 3 projects. The Allegheny Commons East Plan is what's been happening at the Hampton Battery, which has been on the news several times as an open air drug market, and we went. It was great to go to the community with the mayor and talk about the commitment to re-envisioning what that park can look like. There's a lot of empty space, and so looking forward to this funding, moving forward some strategic planning and design, and then was able to fill in some other projects in the district. So really just some planning money to get this going. Thanks.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Capital Amendment number 4.
Capital Amendment number 4, related to Operating Amendment number 9, adds $950,000 in parks tax funding to the Park Reconstruction Parks Tax Project for Allegheny Commons North Promenade, Pittsburgh Parks Conservancy for $800,000, and Westwood School Field concession stands for $150,000.
Motion to approve.
Second. Brief discussion, please.
Brief discussion, Councilman Kraus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I also be added to this, Madam Clerk? Thanks.
Councilman Wilson?
Me as well.
Councilman Wilson as well. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. We have one last capital budget amendment, which is not before council. It was this.
Rhea has them.
Oh, wonderful.
But this isn't on the list in front of you, so this was just determined before we started the meeting.
So, Director, if you want to read it.
So this will be an amendment to the ARPA budget. It will reduce streetlights, LED streetlights in 2022 from $4 million to $0. And it will increase the Pittsburgh Land Bank support in 2023 from $1 million to $4 million and add a line in the 2023 budget for medical debt relief from $0 to $1 million.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Councilman Kraus?
Yeah, could you say that again, please, Peter?
So we'll be reducing the LED streetlights from $4 million to $0. And we'll be putting $3 million back into the Pittsburgh Land Bank support. So it will go from $1 million to $4 million in 2023. And adding a new line for medical debt relief for $1 million in 2023.
So I have a number of reservations about supporting this at this time. I guess largely the urgency by which it is being presented, and I did a little bit of research of this this company, 411 debt relief.
RIP medical debt?
Yeah, RIP medical debt. I didn't, wasn't a whole lot out there to understand. And we as members of council, we don't write contract and we don't enter into contract. And any kind of contract to spend this money is going to have to come back to council for council approval and all of those kinds of things. Yeah, did you want to come up? Oh, okay. So in that regard, I have reservation, but in the swiftness with which it's moving, and I don't feel we have ample time to really wrap our brain about it. But mostly, if I were to cast a public vote to reduce street lighting by $4 million,
$4 million.
My residents in Belts Hoover and Knoxville would hang me in effigy. They have advocated for improved lighting in alleyways and side streets and back streets for the years that I have been in here, and we have been promising them that with the passage of the LED lighting and the commitments that we made through multiple years here in budget, that one day improved lighting would actually be coming to those neighborhoods, Allentown, Arlington included, and it has not yet. And if I were to sit here and cast a vote to take $4 million away from the impact on the safety, health, well-being of, and the immediacy of residents at this moment in time to enter into an unknown field that I don't know that we actually have authority or power to enter into, and certainly have not had time to think through all the implications of whether or not we actually are able to do that. But the number one reason really is I would be in serious betrayal of my constituency that has so vociferously advocated to have the immediacy of their health, safety, welfare improved by having better lighting in their neighborhood, and I can't do that. So those are my comments for this time. I may have additional for second round, though. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Gross?
Appreciate it, Mr. Chair. So just for clarification, this is a motion to amend the ARPA budget, which is, right? And whose motion was it? Because
Mine.
there needs to be a member motioning at the table, but Peter read the motion.
Who was the
I
sponsor?
motioned.
Okay, so Councilman, you're the sponsor,
I'm not the sponsor, but I made the motion.
Who's
I
the
can be the
sponsor?
sponsor, it doesn't matter. I can be the sponsor, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
I'll be the sponsor.
Right, just, that's kind of how our rules are, right? Like it actually has to be somebody who is making the motion in a meeting.
I'll be the
So,
sponsor.
Thank you. And so the ARPA Trust Fund, again, this is a trust fund that's outside really, I mean, we use capital budgeting processes. It is not actually really setting a budget in place for the entirety of 2023, the way the operating budget is, which actually closes. So as I've mentioned to members talking about the medical debt issue, I think we're all kind of interested in talking more about it and learning more about it. Councilman Wilson first approached me on Friday. He presented his new paper today as a new resolution. We also have been kind of researching it, looking at the other cities' models. There was yesterday even a Governing Magazine article that came out just yesterday about the issue, so many cities are also exploring it. It does typically use, in the other cities that I've found, ARPA funds. I think we need to look and see how relevant it is to our vulnerable population in the city of Pittsburgh. Certainly, there is a big variation. I found some data that says that it's possible, I'm not sure the data source, but that there's a much, much smaller proportion of the city population is burdened by medical debt, according to one data source. I think it was like Wallet Hub or something, so I'm not actually 100% sure of the data source. So that's the resolution, which will be on next week's standing committee agenda. I don't think it was related. The amendment today could be done in 2 weeks, in 4 weeks, in 6 weeks, when we're comfortable, and prioritizing it. And I'm absolutely open to that conversation. Do we need to create a capital budget line today? There's no budgetary deadline or timeline here. So it was just at the will of the sponsor, I guess, which is Councilman Burgess for this amendment. So that's the issue that I think, I look forward to exploring kind of what is the impact and the need in the community, what would be the appropriate amount of dollars. I think the source of funds is entirely appropriate, but again, there's absolutely no compulsion to do that ARPA amendment today. And then separately, the restoration of the funds from the land bank, right? As I said multiple times before, we have 48 months to actually get dollars into people's hands for this source of funds, this ARPA trust funds. We had the discussion when I chaired the budget hearing for the URA and the land bank, and I was on record saying like, hey, get started with your $7 million that Mayor Gainey has proposed in his amendments. And if you get through it in 48 months, I'm sure there's another $3 million with great impact. If we're able to create affordable housing with the land bank budget, that would be amazing, even though it hasn't yet to date. If we got started, everybody would be enthusiastically supportive, especially if the outcomes were great. Does that need also to be committed to the full $10 million today? It doesn't prevent the land bank from getting started on the $7 million and trying to expend that in 48 months, which would be a lot. I think that would be clipping through at least $200,000 a month. That would be a lot, if I'm doing my math right. I always look at Peter doing my math right. About $7 million divided by 48 months. So then also, and it doesn't actually have to be the ARPA funds that are source of funds for the land bank operations. So it's not a necessary logical nexus of sources and uses, right? There will be funds that could be expended from different sources 48 months from now if the $7 million is expended. So we've been all consistent in our public comments about this. We also addressed it when we had the city controller at the table, and he said he is a bit alarmed that there's still $215 million in hand in the ARPA trust fund. And I said, and again, in multiple discussions, it's our obligation at the table to make sure that these federal funds that do have a ticking clock get moved to meet community needs, right? And whether that's the URA, and whether that's the land bank, or whether that's some other venue, really we should be looking at all of the ways that we can, all of the media, all of the venues and vectors that we can use and partners to make sure that we're meeting the need that's there for COVID relief, which is what the American Rescue Plan dollars are for. So I hesitate to, I'm not necessarily a fan of the LED streetlights. I also made many comments about that. I'm still skeptical about the technologies. I would definitely like to hear more about what is the contract that this administration is entertaining. I believe it is different than what was moving forward under the previous administration. I think now that's all, but what does need to move forward is a scope, right? And that's kind of different than what was moving forward before, where the previous administration was trying to commit us to one, basically almost privatization of operations, like a operate and maintain agreement, which that's kind of what I was resisting. We learned our hard lesson putting PWSA under kind of corporate control for a few years. That ended really badly. And so I believe that this administration is unattaching that, and so it would not be a privatization of operations for streetlights, and so I'm glad to hear that. But if I think we need to hear, maybe Patrick needs to come back up and tell us, how does this impact the scoping out, so that we're not, as Councilman Kraus was worrying about, leaving streetlights dark or not replacing and maintaining our current infrastructure. So Patrick, can I bring you back up? Do you mind? I believe that moving this one line of ARPA might actually be one that was going to move forward and actually provide services. So I worry about zeroing out that one.
Patrick Cornell, Deputy Director. If I am thinking about my timelines correctly, the LED streetlight project is starting to move. The first phase is more of the study. And then if I remember correctly, design would begin next year to start spending late 23 through 24. And the way we had originally thought about LED streetlights, knowing that prior ARPA budget allocation amendments had started to move some of that, and we had kind of backfilled in 25 and 26 with different capital funding sources. So we are still expecting the project to move forward. The timeline shifted a little bit, but it is moving.
So, and were you projected to move this entire $4 million in the next 48 months, or I don't think I have a clear picture?
If I may ask Director McDevitt, which ARPA budget year was this intending to pull from?
2022
Okay.
is the LED streetlights.
Okay. I would need to take a look at the plan and kind of think about how it's moving with bids and what's out there, but I certainly can today.
When do we have, Mr. Chair, if I may, tomorrow on standing committee, we also sometimes make capital budget amendments, correct?
You're still able to.
It's still open. Yes. It's still open, so we could actually
Move it
get more
back.
information?
We have a couple more bites of the apple.
Yeah. I think I need to cogitate here for a minute before I have more questions. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Council President?
Thank you. So you said a lot of what I wanted to say is that this money, that's going towards this project of the debt for the medical debt. I don't know a lot about the company. I don't know anything about the company. I want to do my due diligence. I want to do my research. I want to find out. A lot of times we do things here and we find out later that, okay, that company had some, they did do this in this city, they did do this in that city, but they did something totally different in another city that was more concerning. So I want to make sure that whatever we do, we're doing what's right. But I also have said that we are doing a lot of social services. We're taking $4 million out of our budget for social services. And although I think everybody on this council wants to, there's people that want to feed people, there's people that want to put, do things for medical debt, there's people that want to give housing. Heck, I want to build a house for everyone, give them food, give them everything that they need. Oftentimes, many of us do things out of our own pockets. But we're here today, we're struggling right now. We just mentioned projects, and I can't remember what it was just a few minutes ago, that we can't do because we don't have the funding for it. And so when you're talking millions of dollars now, fire trucks are about $1 million now, right? Correct?
An aerial unit would be around $1 million, if
Yeah,
not more.
and they
at this
take like
point.
4 years to get in. I mean, there's all sorts of things that we're doing with money, but we have a responsibility. When we talk about our responsibility, our first responsibility is to allocate these funds in our regular budget to get to do the things that residents want to see, the things that we're elected to do. We're elected to do things like pave roads, make sure sidewalks are okay, safe, and passable, and ADA accessible, to make sure that trees are being trimmed and bridges aren't falling down, but the things that we're responsible to do, fix playgrounds. Those are things we're responsible to do, but we're doing so much of things, and it's partly because there's such need, and our city is not receiving all the dollars that we could from other places in terms of helping with food and housing and medical debt and all those sorts of things. So, I mean, we're almost forced to use some dollars that we would be using for other things, to address those issues that we're supposed to address. But at the same time, I think we have to be careful because we see the budget. We've all seen what's coming down the road. We all know that we're going to be challenged next year with this budget. So we have a responsibility to make sure that we're using these dollars in the right way. And, for me, I just don't feel comfortable giving money to a company that I don't know. I do think the land bank, giving the money to the land bank, I've been having conversations with Reverend Burgess about doing the housing co-op that we've talked about. And I said, let's use some of the money from the land bank to buy some of the properties that we need to get down and cleaned up to put in a new, good housing in this area I'm talking about. And so it's not that I don't want to see, all these things happen. I just want to be careful on how we're spending the dollars. So I don't think I'll be able to, even though I want the land bank to have the money, I don't know if I'll be able to vote for this today.
Thank you, Councilman Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, in terms of the one part, because this is one, they're both in this one vote. Is that
Correct.
if I could just have that clarification, okay? Because it's the whole, like we're just opening up that ARPA spending and moving, okay? So in terms of the,
But, I'm sorry, you could propose two separate amendments.
so in terms of the medical debt part, it's been very encouraging to see the numbers of people that would be impacted, and those numbers come out to over 20,000 residents in the city of Pittsburgh that could benefit from this. And it's right in line with the ARPA guidelines in terms of recovery and relief. So this money that the federal government has, placed in municipalities, this has been shown to be a good use and has been recognized nationally. And so it would be great for the city of Pittsburgh to follow other cities that have partnered with this company, with this nonprofit company, and continue the work that they've been doing, to increase it to over the already $7 billion of medical debt that they've relieved to American citizens. So I think this is a very important step that we can take here. There's a lot of funding that has been allocated in this sheet here that has less numbers and actual calculations that show the direct impact. So I think it's a great conversation to have. There's a resolution on the table today that was been introduced, and I'm eager to bring the company to council and talk about their method. Most of it's laid out in the bill. I think the important step is here to take these actions so that we can enter into official conversations with them and know that we're serious about relieving people of their medical debt, especially, the qualifier is for people who accrued this debt. These are people that are in debt collection, not just they went to the doctor and now they're just going to decide not to pay it. These are people who, during the time of the pandemic, whenever American citizens were hit the hardest, that, you know, these people suffered. So they didn't plan to get sick. They didn't plan to get hurt. And this is a moment for the city to partner with a company that works in this space. And they've worked in this space before. There's private donors that have contributed to this company to go into these debt claim markets and buy the debt for pennies on the dollar to relieve people of the medical debt. So this $1 million that we would allocate would equal to roughly $120 million of the over 20,000 citizens in the city of Pittsburgh. So I understand the concerns in terms of how, this looks in terms of, is the city of Pittsburgh going to continue it? Like the word social services has been mentioned, but I do feel that this is an appropriate use of ARPA funds, and places like Cook County that have relieved people of over $1 billion in medical debt was a very important step and has been nationally recognized. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how we can, potentially be a part of what's happening nationally in terms of recognizing that medical debt is a big contributor to, whether someone has to choose for bankruptcy or whether they're going to pay for rent. We did a lot of rent relief during this time, and I don't see this as any different in a lot of respects. So, looking forward to the continued conversation, and I appreciate everyone who is supportive in this. I appreciate our initial conversations with Councilman Lavelle and your efforts to look at the bill and look at the funding. I appreciate Councilperson Strasburger for coming to the press conference this morning and expressing her support. Sorry, I've been trying to drink as much water as I can today. And all the other sponsors of the bill. So look forward to this vote and doing something for Pittsburghers.
Thank you, Councilwoman Coghill.
Councilwoman.
Councilman, I'm sorry, I was looking at Councilwoman Warwick.
We did gain a
but
female representative, but it was not me.
No,
so.
I was looking at her, but I knew you were next. I apologize.
So I first want to begin with Councilman Kraus. I reflect your thoughts for the lighting. And the real issue here for me is not the money that we're taking from the lighting now. It's the $8 million, Peter, that's been
In the
depleted from that?
initial ARPA
Right.
fund, there was $12 million.
12 million was allocated. Okay, go ahead.
And $8 million was reduced over the past couple of years.
$8 million was reduced. And where did that $8 million go to?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Do you know, Patrick?
I can grab my laptop real fast and check for you, or get back to you later
I can
today.
continue questioning if you want to do that. Okay. So yeah, I'd like to know where that $8 million went to. And I feel like it's been depleted before it really got to us. Okay. I know there's $4 million left in there. And Councilman Wilson.
I believe demolition of structures, paving, and slope failure remediation are a number of the things, which are always items that are desperate need of funding each year.
But we're pulling money from places because we're doing things we shouldn't be doing.
And Councilman Wilson, I appreciate you finding a separate set of funds. To me, I didn't want to take from the Food Justice Fund for that. And originally, I know we were going to take from the Land Bank to give to the Food Justice Fund. However, we've come up with this alternate agreement to go with just depleting the fund from the LED streetlights, which, again, I feel like we didn't really deplete that. I feel that was depleted before we got to this table today. Yes, there was $4 million in it, but somebody blew that plan up. It wasn't anybody at this table, I don't believe. So back to, the $1 million, take from a kid who grew up with two older brothers. We had no health insurance. I admire what you're trying to do. I can support that today, contingent on that we're holding this bill in order to find out what's this company do, who's it going to target. Is it going to target just debt? Is it going to target emergency visits? Is it just going to be throughout the COVID period? So you have agreed to that. Okay, so So with that said, Patrick, did you get anything from me on that?
Yes, I did. So let me load this up. We actually, that proposal to make those changes will actually be at the table tomorrow at regular standing committee.
Okay.
This is what the mayor's office
Okay.
had
it's-
introduced.
Yeah,
but
for
it-
what it's for is, okay, that's fine. We'll figure that out tomorrow, I guess. So as far as the bill tomorrow, we're going to hold that. And correct me if I'm wrong, anybody here at this table, most of you, I think, can answer this. If we decide not to go into contract with, what was the name of the company?
RipMD.
Okay, if we decide not to,
It was introduced
No,
today,
it was introduced
so
today.
it won't be discussed until next week's standing
right,
committee meeting.
okay. So I'm saying we can vet that company. If we hold it, say, for 6 weeks, we can vet that company. If we decide not to go into contract with them, there's no obligation there from us, correct?
Correct.
We could amend it again,
Yes.
correct? Okay, well, I see no harm in it. Like what you're doing. We'll figure it out as the X's and O's, but that's it for me. Thanks. Yeah, let's do that. If it permit, interrogative.
Interrogatory?
Yeah. So the way this works is that the company would actually go out and find the debt, and they would come back to the table, to the to the administration, and I'm sure we'll be a part of some of these conversations. That once they work out the contract, that this company would actually go out, find the debt, come back, and then that's how payment would work. It wouldn't just be like this $1 million that goes to the company. They literally have to be,
Yeah, so they'll find debt, from what I understand, from hospitals, which there's lots of debt. My mother's still in debt.
Some hospitals do their own debt collection,
Right.
so that's a possibility. But also, this is debt that's already in collection services.
Yeah, so I guess once we get this company to the table, we'll find out. Now, does any of this money, will it go towards paying a current hospital bill?
Not current, only that are in current debt
Current
collection.
debts from COVID.
Current debt collection that could turn into, someone might have to choose between bankruptcy, bad credit, or some other costs they have to pay.
Okay, as long as you're willing to hold it for however many weeks we feel deems necessary to figure out, is this right for us or not?
Yeah, I'm willing to work with all members to
Okay.
make sure people are comfortable with it.
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Warwick.
Did you get?
Yeah, she was before. Yeah, you were before.
Did you get me before?
No, I have you listed. I saw her first. I apologize.
It's okay. It's fine.
Oh,
I
well,
put it up like five people ago.
So he missed me first time
Yeah, it's
around,
okay.
too.
It's okay. I thought he had noted.
You're not even cute.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
well, so I just, obviously I'm new, just over the past couple of days, I've heard a lot of talk about land bank, this new medical debt issue, food justice. This sounds like a compromise where everybody's kind of getting what they want, at least from my perspective, so that's nice. I also want to point out that all of these things, and I'm going to include the land bank in this, just given the history of the land bank and sort of, was it like not that much has happened, is that these all kind of feel like new things, right? These are all new endeavors that we're sort of wading into to see what we can do to solve these large issues. So, and we get into the details over time. So that's also good. I think they're all sort of similar in that regard. As far as the social services aspect, I do, Council President, I definitely understand what you're saying with regards to the county, but with actually with these 3 projects, I don't know if at least from my perspective, the land bank, that to me that's very much a city. Rehabbing properties or, getting liens off. That seems very much like a city function. The food justice, I also see that, as I've said before, I'm just saying it sort of for the public, is at least I see the potential there for sort of an avenues of hope type service where we are actually supporting businesses or infrastructure that is related around food specifically, as opposed to just the food bank, which is just giving food to people who need it. So I see a difference there between the social services that the county provides and what this food justice fund could actually be. That's just for. And in terms of the medical debt, it does seem like an appropriate use of ARPA funds. I mean, I see sort of a straight line there. One thing that and this isn't a criticism of the resolution, but I do want to point out that we're in this city with these massive nonprofits that are medical providers, and here we're talking about using $1 million of funding to pay for the debt that they are, putting on the shoulders of our residents, many of whom actually work for those companies. So certainly, if this does go forward, I would definitely want to see the numbers on that, right? Like how much medical debt are we paying to relieve for people who are getting services from, say, UPMC, for example. Anyway, just on a last note, just with regards to the lights, Councilman Kraus, I hear you on that, right? People want lights. So can we just have a little clarification on what this original light project, like LED light project, because if it wasn't going to be new light, because that's what people want, right? They want new lights. So if this wasn't like a new light project, what was it, and why is it that in the end it's not really something that? Yeah, thanks.
So like Councilmember Gross alluded to earlier, the project has kind of shifted over the years, and I would need to loop back in with the capital team and with Domi. But my current understanding is that it really is just swapping out the lights to make them more energy efficient at this point. There were other past components, and I believe most of that now has kind of shifted.
So in the end, Councilman Krause or whoever could say, look, we aren't actually not getting you light. You would have had lights, but now you're not going to get lights. It's just the type of light bulb or whatever, the technology of the existing lights.
I believe there is a component that is related to new lights, but I can double check.
Finished? Okay, Councilwoman Strasburger?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm tracking with a lot of what others have said already, but just to back up and maybe broaden the conversation a little bit, I really want to thank Councilman Kraus for a conversation we had just before this portion of the hearing, because he got me thinking about really what is the function of city government, right? As Council person Warwick was just mentioning too. In normal times, whenever that might have been, it might have been that city council was, and our purview was limited to the infrastructure, the functioning of the city, building the infrastructure for new development, getting the streets paved. And during times when we've experienced a global pandemic and have received federal support, I do think that gives us almost special permission to think a little bit more broadly and think a little bit more like a social service provider, to help those who have been harmed by this global pandemic and the broad-ranging ripple effects of that. And so the challenge is that those funds won't last forever. ARPA funds won't. This era of having federal funding through ARPA won't last forever, as we know. And so the question is then what happens after we've, done some very good things. I'm a co-sponsor of the RIP-MD, RIP-MD, canceling medical debt bill. I, of course, like others, want to conduct our due diligence and make sure that our questions are answered. So I'm in favor of holding that. I support the land bank. I support the Food Justice Fund. I'm eager to see what happens with that. And the funding that supports some of those one-time infusions of cash won't last forever. So we do have to have that conversation of what's the expectation of the public in the long term, and as Council President keeps reminding us, what's our relationship with the county government and county leadership, and how can we align ourselves more closely with their priorities so that we're not working in separate tracks from one another, but working in tandem to help as many people as possible, and not in a Band-Aid short-term way, but actually set up the infrastructure for long-term self-sufficiency in whatever that area that might be. Whether it is the Food Justice Fund, you know, as I've mentioned before, finding new sources of funding, whether it is the land bank, being able to, you know, dispossess of land and get more properties on the tax rolls and fix up properties. I will say I'm going to support this today. It's very painful for me to vote against the streetlights for defunding the streetlights. The original project, to my understanding, would have included a study that would have almost like an audit to determine which areas of the city were in need of additional streetlights, and, you know, based on public feedback, created safer streets because of additional streetlights, and swapped out, you know, almost all of our, if not all of our streetlights to high energy efficiency, which would have saved us money in the long term, and is part of our climate action plan, you know, major carbon reductions over the lifetime of the project. So for me personally, it's very difficult to vote against it. That said, I'm fully committed to working with the administration and our Office of Sustainability and Resilience to make sure that that project can get back on track, and we can, one, you know, for public safety's sake, have additional streetlights where it's needed, listening to the public, and two, upgrade our streetlights to something that maybe not LED, because I'm with Councilwoman Gross. I understand some of the feedback and the challenges and the, you know, even the aesthetics of it or quality of life aspects, but some more energy efficient streetlights is almost the easiest way to make major carbon reductions and cost savings for the city. And I do want to make sure that happens. Thank you.
Very much. Second round, Council President? Oh,
Thank-
sorry. First round.
I'll be very, very brief.
Councilman Burgess.
I'll support the amendment, but I also support streetlights. The project, as originally in the ARPA funding, doesn't exist. That project does not exist. It was actually it was a specific plan with specific outcomes to be performed in a very specific way. That doesn't exist. That's already been eliminated. And so there is more than enough money for us to fund a new lighting plan whenever it comes to council, right? There is no real lighting plan that I've seen yet. They are working on it, you know, they're doing it, and they'll need money for us. We will be able on the back end to backfill any dollars that are needed. The ARPA funds are simply a one-time infusion, but we're always going to have a capital budget, and there's always going to be money in the capital budget to pave streets, repair roads, fix lights, whatever it is. And so I look forward to receiving the new plan and the budget implications and the work with the administration to create funding for it. But the ARPA program has already, as I think Councilman Calkins, I agree with him, that program is done. That doesn't exist. The one we voted for originally for the ARPA funding was very ambitious and had all these components. That's already been sort of, they didn't go into contract with it. That there was no company, you know, there's no RFP for it. That's really already done. And so we can do both things. We can do this now and support Councilman Wilson, and then we can later down the road, when there is a tangible lighting plan that's going to help, you know, Mr. Krause's neighborhoods and others, other neighborhoods, including mine, we can vote for and support that too. So I vote in the affirmative today, not in any way being against lighting, because I intend on the next stage to also vote for a lighting plan that comes before us.
Thank you. Second round, President
So I'm going to
Smith.
say, first of all, there's not a plan for the Food Justice Fund, but we're okay with that. But I do think, and I just want to be clear, not only am I supportive of doing things with the Food Justice Fund, I actually am a part of that group. I actually did food distributions in my own district. I actually wrote the legislation to create the farms and across the city of Pittsburgh. And I actually help our food pantries around my district. So I do a lot in that area, so I care tremendously about it. But I also know we need a plan, and I also know what our rules are and what our limitations are here. I also know it's great to play campaigning with public dollars, and that's essentially what we're doing when we're doing stuff like this that are not our responsibility, but yet at the same time, I know we want to address housing issues. I think the land bank would be a great place to use. I was just talking to the Reverend about the co-op housing, and Councilman Gross, you and I care a lot about that. We worked on that. So I think it'd be great to work on towards some of that stuff. But I think today, when we're talking about this, first of all, the mayor's office is also working simultaneously on creating a fund that can be used for social programs, because that is not our purview. That is not our function. But we do understand that there's such a need that is not being met. And so I told them that I was going to start trying to make phone calls to get a fund established. Well, they were already doing it. So I want to congratulate the administration on already working on those things, and they're also working on, with the nonprofit world. So I don't want, that's all their announcement, but for our sake, I just think that we needed a little bit of time to try to understand what exactly this company does, what exactly they are, and has anyone followed up with the people that they helped in other cities? Because my concern is, if you're helping somebody with their one debt, and you're taking away their debt, their medical debt, but you've done nothing else but that, then you may actually take them off a list where they may be eligible for other programs. So I'd like to know what the real program, and I really think it's different when you've actually suffered and struggled. I've done that. I've struggled in my life. I've had kids. I was a single mom of kids. I know what it's like to really struggle. I don't pretend I'm doing it. I actually did it. I actually lived through it, and I actually don't appreciate being exploited for people's politics for it. So I'm going to say, for me, on my end, I think that it would be worth holding the bill just a day till we at least find out what this company is, and see if we can find some more information. But if members want to vote, that's your decision, but I think that we should hold the bill for at least one day. We can do that and find additional information out. And, I mean, seriously, we have a responsibility here.
Thank you, Councilman Kraus.
Okay, so hopefully I can wrap up the conversation here, unless members choose to continue, but I hope we can.
I might continue.
One
Somebody says,
one thing
yeah.
that I think is very important to make sure, as we have this discussion, council does not enter into contract. That is not our role here. This is not what we do. We fund it. So ultimately, and administration, regardless of who's across the hall, may or may not choose to actually accept the funding and enter into an agreement with whoever this may be. And regardless of what it is that we may be wanting to fund, there are all kinds of rules and guidelines in place by which we, have to determine whether this is a sole source contract, whether there are other people that do what they do. Does it have to go out for bid? Does it have to go out for RFP? Do people have to, on and on and on and on. Having said that, here's how I'd like to wrap up my comments. Clearly, I'm not going to vote to support this today, and I said that. And so, respectfully, I would like to call BS, just respectfully. From the day I walked in the door, I'll start my 16th year here in January, this council has talked about redesigning the lighting in the city. Due not just to the public safety element of it, but to our responsibility to save energy. We talked voluminously about the cost of the lighting that we have now and what it takes out of our budget to maintain it. We've talked about carbon reduction and our responsibility and our commitment to carbon reduction, and what a contributing factor the new lighting would be to our responsibility to reduce our carbon footprint. And as it relates to public safety, I remember when former Mayor Peduto was then Councilman Peduto, and he was our finance chair. I remember he told us the story about the first of police departments and what the role of the police department was. They were the lamplighters. They went out and they lit the street lights as their commitment to the public safety of the public at large. And that's how police departments were formed, and that is he spoke to the connection of healthy, productive public lighting as it relates to policing and public safety overall. So now something new and bright and shiny comes along and it happens to be on the headlines, and all of a sudden 16 years, 15 years, soon to be 16, of commitment telling our public, our constituency, that this council is dedicated to redoing the lighting in this system, in this city, to reduce energy costs, to reduce our carbon footprint, and provide for the safety of the public. We're going to say we really didn't mean that. We kind of said we did. We said it for 15 years. We allocated all kinds of funding to it over the years. I'm sure there are voluminous bills that we could bring back to this table to show this council's commitment year in and year out, as we told the public we were committed to their health, welfare, safety, well-being. But something new, shiny, untried, untested, happening to be in the headlines right now that makes for a good hit in the press right now. We're going to cash it all in, say we didn't mean it, BS, all along. We're going to do this instead. And I'm not going to sacrifice my integrity and go along with it. I vote no.
So I'm going to exercise my privilege. I haven't spoken yet. Just to respond to that, Councilman, I completely understand it. However, I don't fully agree with it, because to your earlier statement, our job is to fund it. We put it in the budget. We are not the administration, and you've been here to 3 of them now. Our job is to fund it. And to your point, the council over the years have funded efforts to redo lighting. However, we cannot force the administration to follow through and actually do it. They implement it, right? So I don't think it's this council yelling BS, because to your own point, we've actually put the dollars in. The administrations, the various ones throughout the years, have not fully implemented. And hopefully, we now have a new administration who is looking at a new way to go about this. And as soon as they bring a proposal to us, it'll again be our job to fund it. And if we don't fund it, then I believe you're absolutely right. We would be saying BS to what we've publicly said we want to do. With that, I also slightly disagree on how police forces were formed. My understanding of historically is they were first slave catchers. Now, they may have evolved into the lamplighters, but they were first slave catchers. With that, I saw Councilman Wilson for second round.
One question real fast. What action are we going to take today? That's where I'm mostly confused.
So right now we have a motion. So right now we have a motion to approve an amendment to the ARPA fund to move $3 million back to the land bank, excuse me, and then $1 million to health debt relief. That's currently the motion on the table. Madam President recommended we motion to hold for a standing committees meeting, but that's currently what's on the table.
Then we
Councilman
can
Wilson.
discuss them both together.
Pass. Anyone else for second round? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed?
Any
Opposed.
abstentions? 3 in opposition, 6 in favor, affirmative recommendation. With that, we have exhausted our agenda for today. Normally, this is more so for Councilwoman Warwick, normally this would end council's public hearings. However, this year, we have one more council public hearing on Saturday regarding city council amendments to the 2003 operating capital and council budgets. And I believe that is at 10 a.m., correct? Yes, 10 a.m. So after that hearing, we'll then adjourn our council public hearings for the 2003 budget. So instead of adjournment, I need a motion to recess.
Motion to recess.
We are in recess.